As the clock strikes midnight and the world falls into darkness, most people lay their heads down to sleep feeling safe and secure in the silence of the night. But for some, the darkness is a canvas on which to paint a haunting picture of the unknown. Enter the world of the paranormal investigator, those brave souls who venture into the unknown to uncover the secrets of the supernatural. Armed with nothing but their courage and determination, they push the boundaries of reality to unlock the hidden truths of the universe. In this world, the line between the living and the dead is thin, and the dangers are real. Dangers that include physical harm, spiritual drain, and a psychological uneasiness that can lead to anxiety, depression, and even post-traumatic stress disorder. While their methods and beliefs may differ, most paranormal investigators share a common curiosity and fascination with the unknown. It's a calling that they feel must be answered, motivated by a desire to help people who are dealing with unexplained events in their home or businesses. They aim to provide answers and to offer solutions to problems that can often be frightening and disruptive to people's lives. And that's exactly where our story begins, with the lady who many consider to be the OG of the paranormal community, Lorraine Warren. She has some of the most famous, terrifying paranormal cases in history, many of which have been made into horror movies, and you'll never guess just how crazy it gets. Lorraine Warren was a renowned paranormal investigator and author known for her work in researching and documenting paranormal and supernatural phenomena. Lorraine Warren lived a life steeped in the supernatural, and a life that was both terrifying and fascinating. Lorraine Warren was born Lorraine Rita Morgan in Bridgeport, Connecticut in 1927. From an early age, she knew that she was different, that she had a connection to a world beyond our own. She was raised in a devout Catholic family and attended Catholic school throughout her grade school years. As a child, she experienced psychic phenomena that would set her on a path of discovery that would last a lifetime. Lorraine recalled her first experiences around 9 years old. She remembered seeing auras around people, but assumed this was normal. As she progressed into her early teenage years, Lorraine began to understand that she was special. In fact, she began to understand that her abilities made her a clairvoyant. The word clairvoyant is derived from the French words clair, meaning clear, and voyant, meaning seeing. Clairvoyants may be referred to as psychics, mediums, or seers. Clairvoyants may use their abilities to see things in the past, present, or future to communicate with spirits or entities from other realms, or to gain insights into people's emotions, thoughts, or intentions. There are several different types of clairvoyance, including precognition, which involves seeing events that have not yet happened, and retrocognition, which involves seeing events from the past. Other forms of clairvoyance include remote viewing, which involves seeing things from a distant location, and scrying, which involves seeing visions in a reflective surface like a crystal ball. Lorraine Warren happened to be a psychic medium and used her clairvoyant abilities to perceive and communicate with the dead, as well as to document evidence of paranormal activity during her investigations. As Lorraine Warren's abilities were really beginning to blossom, as she transitioned into her teenage years, she ended up meeting the love of her life, Ed Warren, when she was just 16 years old. They hit it off immediately. Ed was working as an usher at the Colonial Theater in Bridgeport, Connecticut, and Lorraine was a frequent moviegoer. In 1945, Ed enlisted into the Navy and was later on board a ship that sunk, which caused him to return home on a 30-day survivor's leave. Only 2 years after they met, it was during this time that Ed and Lorraine got married. As a man and wife, they bonded over their shared interest in the paranormal and began investigating haunted locations together for fun. Although it's easy to assume that the Warrens were ready to settle into the family life, their path would take a drastically different direction, and their life would become anything but normal. In the early years of their marriage, Lorraine and Ed continued to investigate paranormal activity in their spare time while working other jobs to support their family. Lorraine worked as a secretary for many years, while Ed worked as a police officer. It's during these early years that Ed became fascinated with demonology because of the result of their early investigations. Through their investigations in the late 1940s and early 1950s, the Warrens encountered cases of demonic possession and other supernatural phenomena that they believe required a deeper understanding of demonology. So Ed studied demonology through books, interviews with experts, and firsthand experience investigating cases en route to becoming one of the most respected and foremost experts in demonology in the world. In 1952, Lorraine and Ed founded the New England Society for Psychic Research, NESPR, which became the oldest ghost hunting group in New England. Lorraine served as a psychic medium for the group, using her abilities to communicate with spirits and document evidence of paranormal activity. Ed, who had a strong interest in art and painting, started his NESPR career by visiting houses that were believed to be haunted. He would sketch the exterior of the house and present the drawing to the homeowners as a means to introduce himself and gain entrance to investigate the property. But it wasn't until 1970 that the Warrens had their first major case, one that would change their lives forever. By 1970, the Warrens had really honed their craft. They had spent years studying demonology and working with those who claimed to be possessed. Lorraine had spent years exercising her paranormal abilities to hone them in. That's when they received the call. It was in 1970 when a young woman named Donna received an antique Raggedy Ann doll for her mother as a birthday present. Donna, a nursing student, shared a small apartment with her roommate Angie, who was also a nurse. The doll was meant to be nothing more than a decoration for Donna's bed. At first, everything seemed normal, and Donna was pleased with the cute and charming doll. But as the days passed, something strange and unsettling began to happen. The doll would move from its original position, first in small ways and then in increasingly noticeable ways. Donna and Angie would come home to find the doll in a completely different room, and at times they even found it with its arms folded and legs crossed. But it wasn't just the movements that were eerie. There was an eerie energy around the doll, as if it had a life of its own. The two roommates started to feel as if the doll was watching them, and Donna's unease grew when she began to find the doll in her bedroom, on her bed, with the door closed. She knew she hadn't left it there, but who could have moved it? As the strange events around the doll continued, Donna and Angie began to feel that something malevolent was present in the doll. They reached out to a medium who claimed that the doll was possessed by the spirit of a young girl who had died on the property. But Donna and Angie soon realized that it was not a little girl's spirit that haunted the doll, but something far more sinister. The doll's movements grew more and more bizarre, and Donna and Angie felt as though they were in the presence of an evil force. The girls would find notes that read "Help us" on parchment paper, even though they didn't keep any in the house. So the final straw came when Donna came home one day. Upon inspecting the doll, she noticed what appeared to be blood drops on the back of its hands and chest. The most bizarre thing was that the red liquid-like substance had seemingly appeared out of nowhere on the doll. They knew they needed to take action and contacted a psychic medium to help them find out more about the doll. They had no idea about what was about to come. Feeling lost and alone, Donna and Angie had nowhere to turn. They knew something was not right with the Raggedy Ann doll and the sinister energy it carried. So desperate for answers, they turned to a medium for help. The medium held a seance, and that's when Donna's life changed forever. She was suddenly introduced to the spirit of a young girl named Annabelle Higgins. The medium related the tragic story of Annabelle to both Donna and Angie. The little girl had lived on the property before the apartments were built. According to the medium, Annabelle's life had been full of joy and laughter. She was just 7 years old when she was found lifeless in the field upon which the apartment complex now stood. So Donna and Angie were shocked and saddened to hear Annabelle's story. They began to realize that the doll, which had initially seemed harmless, was actually a vessel for Annabelle's restless spirit. But the worst was yet to come. Annabelle's spirit was not alone, and it was not just a lost little girl who haunted the doll. There was something far more sinister at work, and the women were about to find out just how terrifying the doll could be. So up until that point, Donna had never believed in the supernatural. That is, until she experienced the terror of Annabelle. The spirit that haunted her home was not a lost little girl, but something inhuman and demonic in nature. Donna knew she needed to seek expert advice. That's when she reached out to an Episcopal priest named Father Hegan. He too sensed that something supernatural was at work and knew that he needed to bring in a higher authority in the church. Father Hegan contacted Father Cook and then brought Ed and Lorraine Warren into the picture. At this point, with years of experience in the field, Ed and Lorraine Warren quickly discovered that the doll itself was not possessed, but manipulated by an inhuman presence. Spirits do not possess inanimate objects like houses or toys, they possess people. An inhuman spirit can attach itself to a place or object, and this is what occurred in the Annabelle case. This spirit manipulated the doll and created the illusion of it being alive in order to get recognition. The spirit was not looking to stay attached to the doll, it was looking to possess a human host. The Warrens knew they needed to act fast. The next stage of the infestation would have been complete possession, which could have resulted in harm or death within a 2 or 3 week period. After their investigation, the Warrens arranged for an exorcism blessing called the Episcopal Blessing to cleanse the apartment. Ed Warren described the Episcopal Blessing as a wordy 7-page document that is distinctly positive in nature. Rather than specifically expelling evil entities from the dwelling, the emphasis is instead directed towards filling the home with the power of the positive and of God. At Donna's behest and to prevent any possibility of the phenomena recurring in the home, the Warrens took the large rag doll along with them when they departed from the apartment. The danger had been quelled for Donna, but it was only just beginning for the Warrens. The Warrens had agreed to remove the Annabelle doll for the safety of the girls of the apartment. As Ed placed the doll in the back seat, he couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling that it was more than just an ordinary rag doll. They decided to avoid taking the interstate just in case the inhuman spirit still resided within the doll. But their suspicions were confirmed in no time, as the car suddenly began to experience a vicious attack. At every dangerous curve, the car swerved and stalled, causing the power steering and the brakes to fail, putting the Warrens at risk of collision. So Ed reached into the back seat, into his black bag, and took out a vial of holy water and doused the doll, making the sign of the cross over it. Miraculously, the disturbances stopped immediately, and the Warrens arrived home safely, grateful for their escape. After the Warrens arrived home, Ed sat the doll in a chair next to his desk. As the weeks passed, the doll started to show up in different rooms of the Warrens' house. Even when they locked it up in their outer office building and left, they would return to find the doll sitting in Ed's easy chair upstairs as soon as they opened the front door. It also seemed to harbor a deep-seated hatred for clergymen who visited the house, and the stories keep getting stranger. The possessed Annabelle doll had a disdain for the clergy. Father Jason Bradford, a Catholic exorcist, visited the Warrens' house and saw the doll sitting in a chair. He picked it up and said, "You're just a rag doll, Annabelle. You can't hurt anyone," before tossing the doll back into the chair. Ed warned him not to say such things. As they parted ways, Lorraine anxiously urged Father Jason to drive carefully and to call her upon arriving home, as she had a premonition of tragedy befalling the young priest. Hours later, Father Jason called Lorraine to inform her that his brakes had inexplicably failed as he entered a busy intersection. That caused him to be involved in a near-fatal accident that destroyed his vehicle. Sadly, this was just one of many similar incidents that occurred over the following years. So how does this story end? The Warrens had a special wooden case built for Annabelle, complete with a copy of the Lord's Prayer and a label stating, "Warning, positively do not open," inside their occult museum. Since the case was built, Annabelle no longer appears to move, but is still considered to be dangerous. Unfortunately, in 2019, after the death of Lorraine Warren, Tony Spiro, Lorraine's son-in-law, closed the museum to the public, stating it is not a museum. It's a residential house. The street is a very narrow public roadway, inadequate for parking for any commercial enterprise. However, as of 2022, Annabelle doll is now going on public display at various paranormal conventions in the Northeast. Will this awake the slumbering demonic spirits? The Annabelle story is just one of many investigations that the Warrens led through the years. Other very famous cases include the Perron family haunting, the movie made into The Conjuring, the Amityville horror, the Enfield poltergeist, the movie that was made into The Conjuring 2, and the Smurl haunting, the movie that was made into The Haunted. Are you familiar with these cases, or do you want us to explore them with you? If you're interested, make sure to leave a comment and let us know. Are you a fan of the work of Ed and Lorraine Warren? What's your favorite case they worked on? Whether you believe or not, there's something we can all agree on. They're incredible stories. Now, this has been the Ghost Hunting Beauties podcast. If you enjoyed our content, please make sure to like, subscribe, or even send our content to a friend. Until next time.